Back to the news that's breaking out of Stockholm, Sweden now. There's more confirmation now. Swedish intelligence agencies say that, quote, a large number of injured when a truck crashes into a department store there. The Prime Minister in Sweden, Stefan Löfven, saying that every indication leads them to believe the truck crashing into the store is a, quote, terror attack. On the phone, Walid Phares, Fox News national security and foreign affairs analyst. And, sir, good morning. It appears it has happened yet again.
It did. Obviously, there are 2 points here. Number one is that it is still an ongoing police operation. So the final conclusion will come probably in a few hours when Swedish authorities will probably hold a press conference. Second, as we saw, governments in general, and Sweden in particular, they are very cautious in using words and terms in terrorism. They're getting there because they need the evidence. There's a legal framework. But for experts who have been following this type of attack, especially in Europe, I mean, almost to the fact this is a repeat of what happened in Nice and other places. This is an act of terror. Now we're going to wait to see the linkages, if I may say, to either ISIS or others. But that's too early to determine at this point.
Walid, offhand, do you recall the most recent history of potential terror attacks in Sweden and the cause for concern that has grown in that country? How would you address that, Walid?
Well, first of all, I remember for about 10 years, there have been many repeated attempts and attacks. That's a long list. But over the past few months, if you recall, there was even a debate here in the United States in our own politics about what's going on in Sweden. I mean, of course, we have been observing and monitoring social media clashes, because this is where it begins. You start to see the violence in words. That's what most of our agencies, observe first, including part of the chatter. And then, of course, there were some incidents. But this attack is basically organized, meaning there's a truck, there's a plan, it must have been scouted. We will learn more about the facts, but any expert will tell you this is a copycat of what's happening now across Europe. And one more point here is that it seems that they, whomever they are, have discovered the weak points in Sweden, in Europe, and probably in the West in general.
Walid,
they can use knives and trucks.
There are, it's relatively simple too, isn't it? There are reports of 3 dead. That has not been confirmed, but some of the images that we're getting online right now, I'll just describe them to you. It appears that there are black blankets, orange blankets in the street where some sort of monorail train would run through that shopping district. People could get on and get off and enjoy a day of shopping, but not on this day. And if these blankets are covering that of human remains, then the fatality reports we've been getting will be confirmed. We're not going there yet because we cannot confirm that on our own. However, sir, it is apparent that ISIS has tried to communicate with its followers in Western Europe, here in the U.S., in Canada, in the U.K., in London that we saw 2 weeks ago, to encourage them to use this relatively cheap and easy form of terror. Get a truck, get a car, and drive it into a crowd. It is, frankly, that simple.
It is that simple, but it's horrific at the same time. Let's remember what ISIS has for us in the West, Europe, and in the United States and Canada. They have a standing guidance, and that goes back almost to 2014-15, when the reaction against ISIS, the campaign against ISIS has begun. They asked their supporters, the jihadists around the West, to act. Second, there is a more specific guidance by ISIS to jihadists or potential jihadists in those countries to use everything they can and the simplest methods possible, including, of course, cars, trucks, knives, anything that we cannot detect. I mean, we cannot detect all cars, and we cannot detect what's in the mind of these individuals.
Sadly, you are correct. Walid, thank you for jumping on the phone there at the last minute. Walid Phares, our terrorism analyst, with us, taking us through the story in Stockholm, Sweden. So we'll get back there in a moment, and we'll certainly gather more information and bring it to you, the viewer at home.